Okay. Today I'm going to do what's probably my last video on this Waltz project. And I'm going to work on the sort of the variety in the melody, maybe a little more on the sound and percussion, and then try and structure it into something that has at least a little bit of like a beginning, a middle, and an end. And by the end of this, I would like to be able to record this as like a 2 minute let us be ambitious and say song, musical object. So here we go. Briefly, what I'm doing is I got interested in making electronic music with the structure of traditional classical dance music. I don't know if waltz actually counts as classical dance, but whatever, traditional dance music. And so I am making a thing that sounds like a waltz with the tools that you would use to make electronic music. It sounds like this. You actually hear one of the things I did in between videos this time is fix my reverb. It's still not great reverb, but it's it at least is giving it a sense of space, which it did not have before. But that might be a little too reverby, so let's calm that down a little bit. Okay, cool. So let's think about this. So the concern I had at the end of the last video was that although this very lightly generative melody that I've got going works, it actually sounds a lot like a waltz. And if you sit and listen to it for a few seconds, it works pretty good, but it really quickly gets boring, as is the way of generative music. So I want to try and see if I can make it a little more interesting. So I know from experimenting last time that my root notes actually have a huge impact on the sound of the music. So if I fix this, you can actually hear how little motion there is in the melody without that. And that's by design. Like I think a waltz is supposed to be fairly smooth, so you don't want a lot of huge jumps. But that means that it really isn't quite generative, like procedural, because it's just like that loop is the whole thing. That's really establishing the sense of the melodic sense of it. So the question is, like, can I do these chords more interesting, there's several things I can do to add some variety here. One of them is these are very rigid, so there is one chord per bar, no variation in that. Most real music doesn't work that way. So one of the things I can do is change this somehow. I'm not super sure how to do that. So that, well, actually, I guess since I'm not using the triggers for this at all, I think, no, I'm definitely not, then that's really easy to do. I don't even have to adjust the tempo at all. I can just make these longer. So if I say, like this, that holds that high note for 2 bars instead. Then we should be able to hear that. And I'm not trying to, but I think it's in there. So some of the tools I have at my disposal for doing this are, there we go. So my sequence can randomly pick, a 6 or a 3. Part of it, I was having trouble with this last time too. It's like, I'm not really hearing the impact. Like, I know that when I take that root away, it affects the melody. I'm just really not hearing the impact. Okay, so if I write this file, this sequence should start back at the beginning. So we should start at 4. Okay, yeah, so if I'm paying very close attention, I can't actually hear it. So this says every time through the outer loop, play on the first loop this, the second time through the loop this, the third time through the loop this. So it's just a cycle. I'm saying on every other cycle, go through and do an octave up, basically, because these are in scale degrees. So there, that one you can hear. Okay. Let's do. Okay, so that's got a little more of a sort of a swell. It'll be interesting to hear what this sounds like with the melody, but I kind of like that. So let's say doesn't always go quite that high. When I first did this, I was trying to do something like a reasonable chord sequence, but I don't know if I care that much. So let's say, I think this is going to work. So 6, 0. I don't know if I can really go this slow, but let's try it. I want the same number in each of these. So and then, in order to do that, I need to say, rather than this whole sequence being one element, in which case these would be in 16th notes. I need to say this actually represents 4 beats. Okay. This is going to be a lot more complicated. Okay, so that worked, which is good. But okay. That might be a little too low. My basses are actually playing an octave lower even. Okay. Okay, so there's a little more variety there. Let's bring the melody back in and see what that sounds like. Yeah, that low note may be a little low for the melody, too. Okay. So let's focus on going up instead of going down. So this is just flip this and go the other direction instead. So we're going to say here we have an octave jump. Back down to the octave. One of the things I think I want is, because this is not experimental music. I'm trying to make a waltz, so I want to focus on reasonable, the expected degrees of the scale. So I want, mostly to be on the root, or the root at a different octave, and sort of expected intervals within that. I think I've mostly got that. And it sounds okay to me. I mean, it's not doing, cadences. I did try and set that up originally, but you can't really hear it anyway. Make this move a little bit more. The one thing that would be, that I'm sort of trying to simulate with this stuff, it would be kind of interesting to actually have is, I don't know what you call it, Brownian motion, I guess. Like a random walk, where I have a value that is actually preserved. So this, this is wobbling around 0, and then this slew limiter, my portamento, prevents it from moving too quickly. So this has memory. It knows sort of where the note is, and so it is. I guess this is actually maybe a little random walk what I'm doing, because this is gonna cause it to move up or down. This is gonna prevent it from ever moving up and down instantly, and so it actually just sort of slides in one direction or the other. And that is basically branding in motion. So I guess I do have that. It's just not at a very large scale. Anyway, so I think those changes to the root sequence I made have made this a little bit more interesting, which is good. But there's this really strong rhythmic sense, which is great because it makes it sound like a waltz. But it's a very repetitive loop. So because it's so distinctive, right? It's not like sort of an ambient music where you have these kind of very complex polyrhythms that really never repeat, or just sort of, bland is not the right term because that sounds very negative. I like ambient music, but characterless rhythms that are sort of like you could listen to them forever because they're not really doing anything. That doesn't sound very repetitive. But this is so distinctive. You can absolutely hear the cycles and they come over and over again, and you kind of get tired of them. So I don't really know how real music like this handles that problem. I mean, obviously it's got variation that I don't have, that is designed into it by a competent human composer, which I am not quite yet, and the robot certainly isn't. So first off, let's just try and break this into bars, so that this is easier to look at. Okay, quarter note, dot and a half, eighth, that, and then that is 3/4 long. That is 3/4 long. That is 3/4 long. And that is also 3/4 long. So this should sound exactly the same. Super doesn't. Why not? Maybe it's the wrong length. I think it's this one that's wrong. And it is. Why is it wrong? Let's take that out for a second. Oh, now I'm gonna have problems because it doesn't match my other thing. And it doesn't match this anymore. Okay, so that didn't do what I was expecting it to do. Let me see if I can figure out why. So this says this is a nested tuplet, and it is 3 beats long, and I want it to be treated as 3 beats. So I must have a bug somewhere in this, the code for this. That is disappointing. It'd be nice if it just worked. Okay, whatever. So we're just not going to do it that way. Instead, what I'm going to do is I think I have, just to make sure this works the way I think it does. I think I might have a tool that's gonna work for this. Going frames. I don't know why that is. Yeah, that's pretty bad. If that keeps happening, I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on. It's part of the problem is I'm pushing these patches more and more complex. I'm running up against limitations in the performance of a very, very naive way that I'm doing the dynamic routing for these guys, which is computationally very expensive. And there's other inefficiencies in the system too, and I think that's the one that drives it. Okay, anyway, so what I'm looking at is I have this thing which I'm calling a quad iterator switch, which I don't know if that's a standard name for this. It certainly isn't. And what it does is it has a trigger and a signal input, and then 4 outputs, and those outputs are it walks through those outputs every time it receives a trigger. So, it starts by outputting the signal on the input signal on the first output, and then everything else is zeroed. And then after the first signal, it will output on the second one, third one, fourth one, etc. So it just cycles through the outputs. So that actually is what I want here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say my melody accents. Melody accents, instead of being that sequence, are actually quad switch. I guess what I actually called it in the dynamic language. It takes a trigger, melody bar trigger, something like that, which doesn't exist yet, but it's going to be a sequence. It's going to be a sequence, which is going to be a clock. And then the signal it takes is going to be... Oh, no, this is more complicated. Just that. Just a constant one. So this will basically put a gate that walks through those four outputs every time a trigger happens. Okay, and so the trigger is going to be something's ticking, I'm not sure why. So it's going to be a sign that's so every whatever. Well, I'm going to figure that out in a second. It's because I have 2 things with the same name probably. Okay, so it's going to output a trigger every 3rd beat, so every bar, because we're in 3/4 time, and then this is going to have a gate that walks through its 4 outputs, switching every bar. In which case, that then melody sense is going to be the first bar accents times, and these sequences don't exist yet, but they will in a second, times the melody accents gates output 1 plus, this is a really awkward way of doing this, and this is the kind of thing that I will probably eventually build tools for. Okay, and then 3, 2, 1. I'm going to keep my numbering schemes consistent. Okay, and so those things are going to be this same sequence, just trimmed down. So there's first one, second one, fourth one, and the first one has the first bar, which is these notes. The second one has the second bar, which is these notes. And then and all these chord notes, but not that guy. Okay. And then this one has everything is gone except that. Okay, cool. So this is a sequence that's always just doing the rhythm for the first bar, always doing the rhythm for the second bar, third bar, fourth bar. This flips through those. This gets me the actual accents for those things. And so let's just see what that sounds like. Okay, super doesn't. What have I got? It's because somewhere I'm using the gate for melody accents. And where is that? Is this. So here, I have to take this gate instead. This may or may not actually work, because I've had trouble getting clocks to align with my sequence gates in the past, so. Okay, start. Okay, so part of the problem is that I have this problem that I really, really need to fix. I keep saying that, which is I need all of these parentheses in all of these places, even when in standards expression parsers this would be unambiguous, but nothing standard about what I'm doing. Okay, I'm gonna have to group this with this and this with this. Well, that should parse. And this should sound exactly like it did before. And it sure does not. It's because I am wrong. This is not actually what I want. This is every third beat. What I want is every beat. This wasn't working before. I don't think it's going to work now. Because these sequences aren't actually aligned to this. What I can do is I can just take one of these sequences and just use its trigger as the clock. Where's this other thing? I know I had another one. There it is. Put a pulse divider on this guy. Okay, so now everybody should be keyed to. There's some weird ticking, so something's not quite aligned. Oh, it's because I can't. No, because that one has. Yeah, because this doesn't actually have a pulse. Oh, this is very frustrating. But if I take this, because that one does have a pulse every, and it should be aligned every beat, and it should be aligned with the other sequences. I need a better way of doing this because this is really It's interesting. It's clearly still not working. Why not? What is going on? 2, 3. So I think my melody accents are being built in the right sequences. Or trigger. And I think those 4 bar representations are right. So this is quarter note, stota quarter note, half note, or eighth note. So that's a bar. Half note, quarter note, that's a bar. Quarter note, eighth, that's a bar. Dotted half note, that's a bar. Okay, so maybe the problem is that this and this are just not, like, this could be correct and this just not aligned with this. So let's just, for the moment, assume that is the case. In which case, I'm just going to rebuild this, and we're going to don't need another multi-bar trigger, because Okay, so those are all fine. This is 1.5. Okay, so now I have the durations instead of those accent values. Okay. Melody durations. Actually have something else. Melody durations gates. Okay. That's actually the wrong name. Yeah, it still doesn't sound right. What am I missing? And that's about the right. Still dropping samples. Yeah, it cannot handle that logging, which is not unreasonable because it's crazy logging, but the sequences sure seem like they're the wrong length. Sorry, I'll stop. Yeah, something weird's going on here. I think there's something running in my computer that shouldn't be. Because it's not fast, but it's not that slow. So I'm going to pause for a second and see if I can figure out what's going on. Okay. I don't necessarily have that fixed, but should be a little bit better. I think what's happening is I'm just, this is a relatively long patch. I've got, what is that? I don't know however many notes. And some of these more complex instruments repeated a number of times. And just every patch in this, of which there's many, is relatively expensive. And so I just need to go fix that. The long-term goal for this is I would be able to compile all of this down into a lower level representation in an automated way that should be much, much faster, like an order faster, maybe not quite that good, but but I should be able to get more performance than a dynamic version, because this is, you know, not a simple patch to be running in real time, but it should still be easily within the real time capabilities of like a modest laptop, which is what I'm running it on. It's also constrained to one core, and doing all of the synthesis in the audio thread, which is, I know, a bad idea. So there's a bunch of stuff I could do to make this work better, and I will eventually. But back to this, just for the rest of this video. So what I was seeing was that these were going, but not at the rate I expect them to go. So I gotta think about that. So let me look at this again. So let's just think if this actually sounds like it's running for one bar. So 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay, that sure sounds like it's about the right length of a bar, so that's good. So that means that we should be switching between these guys every bar. So let's just look at, okay, let's start with this. So this guy should be 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1. So that looks about right. And 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That looks about right too. So I think these guys are doing what I expect them to do, or something close. But it seems like this wasn't. So let's look at that again. Yeah, see, it's moving through these way too fast. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, what's going So if let's just try this. And then so these should align. We should just get that first bar pattern. Part of the problem with hearing what's going on is, oh, no, I do have these turned all the way up, so I'm hearing every note, okay. Okay, maybe that is right. This one should be easier, just but that's clearly wrong. So where's that other rhythm coming from? I've got something set up incorrectly. And what is it? Randomness. Accents. Oh, I'm just dumb, aren't I? Like, I fiddled with this earlier, and got this. Okay, so what I need is another one of these things that's getting the triggers out. I don't know. Actually, okay, just copy this. We're gonna go functions, but now it's triggers. We're gonna go. No, that's all fine. It's this. These are gonna do iterations. Again, become triggers. And it is. These are not this. Instead, it's something, and then something. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3. Oh, well, it's the same in all of them, because that's the trigger port. Okay, so that should give me the trigger sequence, the sequence of triggers for the sequence that's currently playing for the current bar, I think. Okay. Now, after a lot of fiddling, I think I'm back where I started from. Plus a little bit of weird clicking, because I think something is just not quite aligned. And I don't know, I'll think about that. Okay, cool. So that's good. So now the whole point of this is now I have the bars split out, which means I can do some interesting stuff with them, I think. Think about this. So if I put some variation on this, like relegate, this should mean that sometimes I'll repeat bars. Yeah, okay. So yeah, you can hear that every once in a while, or sometimes it doesn't move forward. We get that bar again. Okay. I like that. I think that's going to be good. The other thing is I noticed that these turned way up. So this one means that I was playing every note, and now I'm no longer playing every note. I'm skipping 30% of the notes. That might be a little too much. And then this one is I have two things. I have a looping set of melodies that gets reset every however many bars that is, and then I have just straight up noise. And this tells me that I'm going to play the noise 30% of the time and the repeating melody the rest of the time. So one of the things about this kind of stuff is here I've got a loop where I wasn't playing very many notes, so things get real lean for a while. I think that's fine. Maybe a little bit boring. I mean, so maybe I should reset after fewer bars, so you don't get stuck like that for so long. Okay, so here's another thing I've done wrong. I need a loop for this melody triggers. So it's going to be, because this is no longer necessarily aligned with what I'm actually doing. It's going to gate on this. And the signal is the source melody triggers. And I think this should, some of those weird glitches should, I think this will fix that. Oh, no, I already had that loop. But am I using this? Way down here, yes. Trigger. Okay. I think that's the right thing. What if that crackling I'm hearing is just the fact that I'm sort of right at the edge of my performance falling down point, and I think that's what it is. It's actually not coming out of the synthesizer directly. It's because the synthesizer is pushed a little bit too hard. So if I do something like just take out a bunch of this stuff. And the crackling should go away. No, it's still there. Okay, so that is real. That is still something misaligned. This. Yeah, that's what it was. Okay, but I do need that. I know it was misaligned, which is why I put that delay there, but let's just see what this does. Oh, that's sure annoying. Not worry about why that is the way it is, and just run with it. So the sort of smash over the head with a stick solution is to take my triggers and just sample and hold. So I should only get a transition at the right moment. No. Really? Melody loop. Indicates. wasn't it? I guess this isn't actually the problem. Okay, so what else might be misaligned? I think the clicks are coming at measure boundaries. And what am I doing in measure boundaries? This. I already said that's probably not the problem. I don't know. Frankly, I don't really want to figure that out. So, okay, I'm just not going to worry about those clicks right now because I built this complicated mechanism, which I should build better abstractions for doing this, rather than try and fix this duct tape version. I was going to try and build an intro and an outro to make this a song, but I don't know. I think I'm done with this project. So, yeah, I think that's the end. And it's, it works pretty well. It's not terrible. I'm generally pleased with this, despite the fact it's got these lingering problems. And I'll probably explore more of this kind of stuff in the future, especially because this is, maybe not a finished song I would want to put on like an album or something, if I ever try and make that kind of music. But it might be useful as like an atmospheric piece in a game or something, which is really my primary use case for this. So, okay, cool. I guess I'm done.